today. Today I am overcome today. Today hope came undone.
There were so many days where I thought I was never going to get better.
For me, it didn't take long before Emmy was my life.
It was like everything that I ever had and ever loved was taken away. It's like when someone takes a carpet and sort of when you're just on your back.
Yeah, there were days where I thought I'd be in this house forever.
I'd wake up in the morning just feeling like I'd been beaten with a baseball bat.
It was kind of like being in a tunnel and just never seeing the light.
It was like my whole world had been taken apart.
About a year into my illness, I really did think that I'd never have energy again.
I remember being fine, and in the space of about, I think it was about 2 weeks, I couldn't read half a page of a book for no reason. I couldn't run, I couldn't read. Having a conversation was an effort. I couldn't eat anything. And it was everything that I loved felt like it had been taken away.
Before I got sick, I had a pretty active life, well, very active life really. Out on my bike all the time, just living a normal life of someone in their late 20s. I was seeing someone at the time, and we were out on a date on a Sunday, and I started to just not feel right, and I started thinking, oh, this might just be a sore throat or virus or something coming on. So to get a diagnosis, it took about 3 months, I think, of going through the whole process of feeling absolutely dreadful and actually feeling I was getting worse.
Being a mother and living through ME and not being able to give my children anything outside this house was possibly the worst thing I've ever had to deal with, because I tried to you know, not at my very bad days, but when the days that weren't so unbearable for me, I really tried very hard to be as communicative as I possibly could be. And be the mother where I would cook and read to them if that was at all possible. But the worst part was just not doing it, not interacting with them outside the house.
What I wasn't able to do in the beginning, after I was diagnosed, was walk more than about 100 yards. Sometimes having a conversation was an effort. I think I usually had to have a bath instead of a shower, so I couldn't stand up. I didn't eat a hot meal for 18 months. I think my day was I'd get up, sit on the sofa, watch the telly, have a bath about lunchtime, sit on the sofa, watch the telly, go to bed.
After having ME for 7 years, I guess I was left with a real desire to help other people in similar situations. You know, when I'd spent so much of my time reading and researching, you know, 600-700 books in related areas, doing numerous training courses, you know, that there was a lot of knowledge that I wanted to get out there. And so I wrote my book, Why Me, which was really just an emotional account of what I'd been through. And Why Me was eventually published, and I spent the next year or so traveling around the UK speaking to health groups, ME groups, really just sharing what it was that I'd learned, what it was that I'd been through. And quite soon I was getting booked up, people wanting me to work on a one-on-one level. And around that time I met Nikki, who is now Director of Nutrition at the clinic. Nikki had spent 10 years traveling around the world doing numerous training courses, looking at really the main thing, how do you give people more energy? And Nikki and I really shared this passion for helping people and for knowledge and being at the cutting edge. And so we met Anna, who is now Director of Psychology at the clinic. And Anna, like me, had been through ME and made a full recovery. And I guess that gives her a really unique sense of what people are going through. And in the years since then, the clinic has really just grown primarily through word of mouth because of the results we've been able to get with people. And you know, we have a database now of around 5,000 people in the last year alone, either by telephone or face-to-face. We've worked with nearly 1,000 people, and we have patients literally all over the world. We have patients in New Zealand, Australia, Singapore, France, America. So it's been, you know, a really very exciting and also incredibly rewarding journey.
As we've been researching the area of ME, the research and our own experience is showing that there isn't really a homogeneous group of people with ME. There's essentially a whole group of people that have been labelled with this chronic fatigue syndrome, you know, ME, but that the underlying causes can be so different for each person. That's one of the reasons why the scientific research hasn't actually come up with anything sort of specific on the physical side to show what's actually physically wrong with people who've been diagnosed. Because there are basically all these different groups. You know, some patients, some people have truly had organophosphate or pesticide poisoning, and that's created all the symptoms of ME. There are so many other different things that can cause fatigue in somebody that to say that everybody has pesticide poisoning, or everybody it's just about psychology, or everybody it's just a hormonal imbalance is just not right. And you have to really investigate which specific thing someone has.
It's interesting, you know, people will hear about my story, and they'll if someone's really ill and they kind of have that ME belief system that I think is very easy to kind of get sucked into. And they'll say, well, either Alex was never really ill, you know, really properly ill, or he hasn't made a full recovery. Because I think a lot of people have this belief system that if you have ME, you can't always have it for life. And yet, you know, I can remember being so ill that I couldn't even make the journey to the doctors, which was 5 minutes away. And, you know, I can remember being so ill that I would just lie there in bed after sleeping, you know, for days, and still feel like all I wanted to do was sleep. And other times where I just couldn't sleep. And yet in my life now, you know, in the past years I've had several work experience people, and I've not had a work experience person get past 4 days, keeping up with my lifestyle. You know, one of the things that I'm known for is sometimes working 80, 100 hours in a week. I probably average 60 hours a week, which I'm not saying is necessarily a healthy, balanced life. But when you're young and you're passionate and it's something you believe in, and you know you've been through 7 years of illness, you kind of come out running, and you really, there are things that you want to do. I would certainly say my health now is better than it was before I was ill, because you know I have things that I do in my life, like you know doing regular yoga, looking after my nutrition. I make a pint of vegetable juice every day, which means that I don't do that because I don't want to be ill. I do that because I want to have optimum health. That's why the clinic's called the Optimum Health Clinic. You know, for me, it's not about, you know, kind of avoiding getting ill again. It's about, you know, really living life to the full. You know, and if there's something we want to do, being able to do it with energy, with passion.
I think what I've learned from this experience is it's just, when I think about it, it's been quite a spiritual experience. I've got in touch with part of myself really that I never really knew existed. Got in touch with a strength within me that I never really knew existed. It's made me realise that I can achieve much more with my life than I was before, and not to really live with fear. Because if you can go through this experience and come out the other side a stronger person and a better person, you can actually achieve anything. And to have that way of thinking now is what? It's just great.
I think if you think that you will never get better, and you know, and yeah, maybe you've been ill for too long and nothing works, that's just not true. I sat in a session with Anna, and someone had been ill for 35 years, and he was improving.
Having energy feels like, just for God's sake, don't take it for granted, because it's such a precious thing to have. Because without it, you know, your personality doesn't come through. Nothing passionate about you comes through. So energy is your most important possession. So if you have it, just make such good use of it. And that's what I'm doing now.